Welcome to Sports Catalog as the table is turning around at the moment in Ivory Coast CAF Africa Cup of Nations. Late drama and redemption again from Monday's matches, which are as follows. Cape Verde vs Mauritania. Ivory Coast vs Senegal. Despite Bubista's decision rested majority of his first-team regulars against the Pharaohs, Cape Verde managed to hold the seven-time champions to a 2-2 draw in that particular match. Cape Verde looks fresh as they confronted Mauritania, who unexpectedly pulled off their tournament's first-ever victory last Tuesday. Cape Verde were currently the favorites to move on to the quarterfinals of the competition. On the last day of the group phase, Mauritania defeated Algeria 1-0, the group's favorites, following the first two losses to Burkina Faso and Angola. Mauritania, meanwhile, had edged through after stunning Algeria in their final group stage game, for what was their first ever win at the tournament. It was a tight affair for much of this match, with Mauritania competing in their first AFCON knockout game, and for 87 minutes it looked as though extra time would be required to split them. Ryan Mendes' late penalty gave Cape Verde a dramatic 1-0 win over Mauritania and booked their place in the quarter-finals of the Africa Cup of Nations. The Blue Sharks went into the last 16 clash as favorites, having gone unbeaten on their way to the knockout stages as they topped Group B ahead of Egypt and Ghana. The first half action was end-to-end, but clear-cut chances were at a premium, while Mauritania were dealt a blow in the 35th minute when Omer Gassama was carried off on a stretcher and replaced by Gassama Fofana. Mendes' early effort for Cape Verde was deflected into the side netting and Mauritania captain Mazine Bada curled a 15th-minute free kick just wide. Mauritania made all the early running in the second period and Suleiman and missed the game's best chance from open play when firing wide after Sidi Amar's surging run into the penalty area just before the hour mark. Africa Cup of Nations hosts Ivory Coast overcame their own poor form and lack of a head coach to upset reigning champions Senegal and progress into the quarter-finals on penalties. The outcome was all the more improbable given Senegal had emerged from their group phase with a perfect record, the only one in the tournament, while Ivory Coast only snuck through as the lowest-ranked qualifier of the third-place teams, without a goal in their previous two fixtures. That was the Africa Cup of Nations at its best. It looked like it was going to be a rout early on as Senegal scored Habib Diallo inside 4 minutes with a fantastic strike. But the hosts, rejuvenated by the home crowd, kept pushing despite Senegal's robust defending. Page 9. Sadio Mane squandered a golden chance to double Senegal's lead just prior to the Ivory Coast's equalizer, which came after referee Pierre Ghislain Acho overturned his decision not to penalize Edouard Mendy for a foul on Nicolas Pepe. And though Mane hammered home Senegal's final penalty in the shootout, Kessie held his nerve to complete a remarkable redemption arc for the Ivory Coast, who only snuck through the group stage thanks to results elsewhere going their way. The outcome was all the more improbable given Senegal had emerged from their group phase with a perfect record, the only one in the tournament, while Ivory Coast only snuck through as the lowest-ranked qualifier of the third-place teams, without a goal in their previous 2 fixtures. Substitutions made a massive impact and Ivory Coast earned a penalty late in the second half. The referee needed to resort to the VAR monitor despite it being clear as day, but despite the delay, Franck Kessie calmly stepped up to equalize. Having been left on the bench by interim coach Emerse Faé, who replaced the sacked Jean-Louis Gasset, Kessie forced extra time with a coolly taken penalty in the 86th minute, cancelling out Habib Diallo's early opener. And if initially the form guide looked to be providing a fairly routine outcome, it was Ivory Coast's persistence and ability from the spot, particularly from substitute Franck Kessie, which ultimately had the defining impact. They look seemingly dead, buried, and completely humiliated just a few days ago. Ivory Coast's Africa Cup of Nations dream somehow remains alive, and there is suddenly a sense of optimism after the Elephants beat reigning champions Senegal to reach the quarter-finals now. The victory led to wild celebrations in Abidjan, the country's economic capital, where fans danced in the streets and set off fireworks. The Ivorians won Monday's last 16 tie 5-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in capital. A host nation has not won AFCON since Egypt in 2006. We still have a long way to go, but this performance has surely given the Elephants belief that they can go all the way. That's all from us on Sports Catalog, but before you go, comment, share, and like. Thanks for watching in and see you next time.